The alien warship cut through the atmosphere with an air of predatory grace, its metallic hull gleaming ominously in the light of Earth's sun. Inside, the Tyraness Sisters, the fiercest warriors of the Zharna Empire, stood assembled in disciplined formation. Clad in sleek, imposing armor, they exuded an aura of unquestionable authority. Their leader, High Commander Xalara, regarded the image of Earth on a holographic display with disdain. "This," she began, her voice sharp and commanding, "is the weak cradle of soft creatures who call themselves humans. A planet where emotions are worn like armor and collaboration substitutes for strength. Pathetic." Her audience, composed of equally formidable warriors, chuckled in unison. For generations, the Zharna Empire had thrived on the principle of individual supremacy. Strength was absolute, emotions were vulnerabilities, and dependence was the hallmark of failure. Earth, by their assessment, represented the antithesis of everything their culture revered. "Commander," one of the officers interjected, gesturing at the display, "their records show no significant defense systems. What meager technology they do possess is years behind even our discarded relics. They're little more than prey." Xalara allowed herself a cold smile. "Then we shall teach them the futility of their existence. Let them understand how inconsequential their achievements are in the vastness of the galaxy." She turned to her second-in-command, Lieutenant Vectra. "Deploy a small detachment. Extract what resources we require, and leave their world humbled." A lesson in inferiority. The warriors snapped to attention, eager to prove themselves. Yet, in their eagerness, they overlooked the subtle flaws in their assumptions. As the warship approached, broadcasts began blaring across its corridors, records of humanity's history, achievements, and defining characteristics. The Zharna used such information to evaluate potential threats, but the tone of their observations was dismissive. "Behold," one of the warriors said mockingly, "a species that celebrates fragility. They sing songs of love and sacrifice, as though such trivialities are strengths." Another chimed in, "They value art over conquest, community over dominion. Their males are feeble compared to us. How could such a species survive?" Xalara's expression remained impassive, but her words dripped with derision. "They survive through luck, no doubt. A planet sheltered from hardship breeds weaklings who depend on sentiment to carry them through. That ends today." As the warship descended, the Zharna noted Earth's lush environment, the vibrant life teeming below them. To their eyes, it was a world untamed, wild, and chaotic, an environment as undisciplined as its people. "Prepare to strip this world of its potential," Xalara commanded. "We take what we need and leave nothing but the ashes of their illusions." The alien warriors, secure in their technological superiority, failed to recognize the challenge awaiting them. Xalara had dismissed Earth's people as insignificant, a misjudgment she would come to regret. For in their scorn, the Zharna had overlooked one essential truth. Humanity's strength was born not from dominance, but from their ability to adapt, endure, and rise above. And this oversight would prove their undoing. Xalara's irritation was giving way to something unfamiliar: curiosity. The human, this Jack Harris, had outmaneuvered them at every turn. It wasn't his strength or technology that had kept him ahead. It was his ability to adapt, to use his environment in ways that confounded their tactics. For a species that prided itself on absolute control, this was unsettling. Jack, however, wasn't focused on unsettling anyone. He was focused on surviving. He led the aliens deeper into the forest, drawing them away from their landing site. Every step of the way, he left calculated surprises: a net made of vines and branches that dropped from above, a rockfall triggered by a cleverly positioned tripwire. They weren't lethal traps, but they were enough to disorient and delay. Each delay cost the Zharna time, something they weren't accustomed to losing. Xalara's warriors were growing frustrated. Their movements became less precise, their focus fractured by the unfamiliar terrain. They relied on scanners and automated tools, but Earth wasn't cooperating. The dense foliage interfered with their readings, and Jack's knowledge of the land kept him one step ahead. At one point, Xalara caught sight of him. He was kneeling by a fallen log, tying something together. She charged forward, confident that her speed and strength would overwhelm him. But as she reached the spot, Jack had already vanished, leaving behind a crude but effective mechanism that flung a swarm of disturbed bees in her direction. Furious, she swatted them away, growling in frustration. Coward, she bellowed into the forest. "Face me." Her voice echoed, but there was no response. Jack wasn't interested in direct confrontation, at least not yet. Instead, he used the pause to catch his breath and assess his surroundings. He didn't have infinite resources, and the aliens were relentless. He needed to change tactics. That opportunity came when he stumbled upon an abandoned campsite. Among the remnants were a flare gun and some dry firewood. Jack's mind worked quickly. He set the wood ablaze, using the smoke as both a signal and a distraction. The fire spread slowly, creating a barrier between him and his pursuers. As the Zharna warriors regrouped, Xalara couldn't ignore the growing sense that something was wrong. This human wasn't acting out of desperation. He was methodical, intentional. She reviewed the traps and tactics he had used, recognizing a pattern. He wasn't just reacting. He was studying them, learning their weaknesses. Finally, she caught up to him at the edge of a clearing. This time there were no traps, no tricks. Jack stood waiting, his expression calm but serious. "You've proven resourceful," Xalara said, keeping her weapon at the ready. "But this ends here." Jack shook his head. "It's only just begun. You think you're in control, but you've already lost. This forest, this planet, isn't yours to dominate. And neither are we." For a moment, Xalara hesitated. The conviction in his voice unsettled her more than she cared to admit. This was no act of defiance. It was a statement of fact, delivered with quiet certainty. And it planted the first seed of doubt in her mind.